Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
This is the Digital Asset Investor. Today I wanted to tell you about the gold market and how it could help Ripple and XRP. But I wanted to give some proper credit here and go over one little thing before I do so. I got this information from Ian Northing, and he's at LANBINS. You should follow him. He's an active XRP community member. And when I went here to pull his page, I noticed something, and I wanted to cover this as well. He had pinned the David Bowie song, Space Oddity. Now, a lot of people, if you haven't seen the David Bowie song, Space Oddity, you should. It's a really good song. But what's interesting about this particular song is it is about, or people thought it was about the moon landing, when in actuality, I think David Bowie eventually said that it was about the movie, he had seen the movie 2001 Space Odyssey. I believe that's what the movie was called. But anyway, it's still about, it's a guy that's in outer space, and so it's kind of a cool, song. You know, we're always talking about XRP mooning and that type of thing. And I always thought it would be awesome if somebody, one of the geniuses out there that's good with video and doing editing on these type of things, what would be a really cool video, and I don't know if Ian knows this yet, but there's a guy that did in 2013, and I'm going to show you. There's a guy that did his own version of Space Oddity. It's one of the coolest videos you'll ever see, and it's right here. This was done, and he did it in outer space. And I've always watched this and thought how cool that it would be if somebody in the XRP community took the song Space Oddity and somehow, the way this guy did it, let me read to you who this guy is. It's a revised version of David Bowie's Space Oddity recorded by Commander Chris Hadfield on board the International Space Station. And he's literally floating around in the International Space Station, and he's a good singer. This is a great version. So go online and watch this if you have not. And if anybody has a good imagination out there and you're good with production and videos, somehow if we could have an XRP video that is around this song and this video he did, that would be so cool. But anyway, take a look at that, people. It's really, really great song. All right, now what Ian had sent to me. This is an article called this is not the version of it that he sent me. I went and found a different version. He sent me one from a different site, but it's the same topic. Ripple set to overtake gold by 2019. There was a few interesting things said in this video. They said, and I'll read you a couple excerpts. The XRP platform officially entered the metals market earlier this year when it launched a gateway called eMetals that allows for the trading of physical metals. In it, traders can invest and trade in digital assets of gold, XAU, silver XAG, platinum XPT, palladium XPD, and rhodium XRH. And then it goes on, and they talk about J.C. Collins, who is philosophyofmetrics.com. I've brought him up before. A real smart guy that does some interesting write-ups having to do with geopolitics, Ripple, different things, different topics around that arena. But it says Philosophy of Metrics writer J.C. Collins, for his part, argues that Ripple will lead cryptocurrencies in this regard by 2019. He explains that the rise of cryptocurrencies has opened up a whole new asset class that will in the future also encompass stocks and bonds traded via the blockchain and global liquidity. And then it goes on and says, gold is a popular safe haven in times of inflation and any other economic events that have a negative impact. Do you know anybody that's told you that before? And then they go on. Analysts believe that Bitcoin will one day replace gold, but only when its price stabilizes. However, XRP Hodder, I'm assuming they're talking about Hodder blog, Hodder from that. XRP Holder argues that Ripple may fare better than Bitcoin because of its rising liquidity. According to him, Ripple's daily volume is similar to Bitcoin's in May 2017, when it averaged around $1 billion per day in trading. That means its growth was approximately the same percentage as Bitcoin's peak in December of last year. He then noted that Ripple now has a big enough volume to move large values through the network without any cause of volatility. Now back to the digital asset investor. Now I want to make the overall point here with you. Just like many other things having to do with XRP, I don't expect, nor does it matter, that we overtake gold. Just like it doesn't matter if XRP is the #1 digital asset. All that has to happen for you and I is small percentages. It doesn't matter to us in the scheme of things if Ripple is, as a company, is not 100% successful. It does not matter if Ripple is only 5 to 10% successful in what their goals are. A lot of our lives are going to completely change. And so I like to look at these things from this perspective. Let's take the gold market, just the gold market, and in this example, and look at, this is the value of all gold in the world. It's roughly $7.4 trillion right now. $7.4 trillion. Now, let's look at that in the scheme of XRP. XRP has roughly $20 billion in it. So let's pretend that XRP, that the people that hold that $7.4 trillion in gold said, you know what? We want to have a part of this new asset class, and we think XRP is one of the best. So let's shift. Let's say that the population, the gold owners of the world, shifted 1%, just 1%. That would be approximately 4 times. That'd put XRP roughly at $2. Let's say that they did 5%. That'd put us roughly at 20 times what it's at today. So around $10. But I mean, the point is that this is just one. Gold is just one area where money is going to flow into digital assets. It's just one area. In fact, gold is the least in terms of the trillions of dollars in an asset class. Gold is the least of them all. There's less trillions in gold than any of the other asset classes, far less. And so this is just one little tiny example of all of the things that are coming, and it's just a matter of time. That's what's so great about this. It's just a matter of time. And I realized that as I was telling you yesterday, I realized there's a lot of either uneducated or sometimes young people who just don't get the big picture. And I tried to go over that yesterday, and I hope I didn't come across as being ugly or anything, but sometimes I want to just snap people out of it and say, do you realize what you're a part of? Do you realize the complete revolution of the financial world that you are a part of? And if you're an XRP holder, you're in the best spot within that asset class of any other digital asset ever created. It's as simple as that. And so at times when I see people getting all worried about today, what the market looks like today, and I hear all these questions, well, do you think that so-and-so is going to be able to manipulate this market? Well, of course people are going to be able to manipulate the market. That happens in all markets. But over the long haul, this is a new asset class, and you're going to have so much money in it over the long haul. The manipulation is small fry stuff. It's irrelevant when you put things in perspective and you look at the big picture. It's completely irrelevant. And so I hope what you take away from this video is what you should, which is if you just take one tiny little sliver of what's coming. I'm not talking to you about the use cases that Ripple's working on. I'm not talking to you about the thousands of future use cases for XRP. All I'm talking to you about is one asset class, the smallest of the asset classes, and what effect that by itself will have over the course of time on the price of XRP, because you better believe that money is going to flow from all of the existing asset classes. And if it's just 1%, it's going to be a game changer. If 1% came from all of the asset classes in existence to come to the new asset class, it's going to be a complete game changer, but it's not going to be 1%. I think it's going to be far more than that. I think it'll be a lot more than that. I think, like I've told you before, when this is all said and done, this $200 billion market that you're looking at is going to be 40 to 100 trillion, 20 trillion on the low end. That's what we're talking about. I'm going to finish you up with my favorite quote that I show you every once in a while, but I have new listeners, and those new listeners, they need to know this quote. They need to cut it out and stick it on their wall, because aside from XRP, this is what life's all about. This is the most important thing in life. If you're a young person listening to me right now, I drill this into my sons' heads every day of their lives. It's all about persistence. And I want you to know this quote. Memorize it. When I was a kid, my dad made me memorize it. It's by Calvin Coolidge. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. The slogan "Press On" has solved and always will solve the problems of the human race. So I say to all of you listening to me, press on, because the digital asset investor is pressing on, and I will continue to press on. I am not an investment advisor. I am the digital asset investor, and this is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family to press on. Thanks for listening.